The call came in at 11:47 p.m., and I almost didn't answer it. I'm Nora, 24 years old. I've worked the night switchboard at Harborview Medical Center in Tampa for 2 years. Most nights, the job is manageable, routing emergencies, calming panicked families, directing lost visitors. Tedious work, but honest. The kind of job where you learn to read people through their breathing before they even finish their first sentence. That particular Tuesday in October, the hospital was quiet. A soft rain tapped against the tall windows of the operator's bay. My colleague Dana had gone on break, leaving me alone with the humming consoles and the pale glow of 3 monitors. I'd been eating cold noodles from a plastic container and half-watching a documentary on my phone when the line flashed. I set the food aside, straightened up, and answered. Harborview Medical, how can I direct your call? Silence. Not the empty silence of a dropped signal, but occupied silence. Someone breathing on the other end. Then a man's voice, low and almost conversational. I need help understanding something. Of course, sir. What do you need? How do you make someone trust you? Someone who's frightened? A pause. I'm asking for medical reasons. Something tightened in my chest. Not alarm yet, just awareness. In this job, you learn the difference between a worried husband and something else. I wasn't sure which this was. Can I get your name, sir? You can call me Thomas. Okay, Thomas. Are you with someone right now who needs medical attention? She needs something. He made a small sound and not quite a laugh. She won't stop looking at me. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Who are you with, Thomas? I don't know her well. We only just met a few hours ago. His voice carried the casual warmth of a man discussing the weather. She has very dark hair. She was wearing a green coat when I found her. When I found her, I kept my voice even. Professional. The voice I practice in the bathroom. Mirror at 6 a.m. before shifts like this one. Is she injured? Is she conscious? She's conscious. Another pause. Very conscious. She keeps making sounds. The noodles sat forgotten. I began typing rapidly, pulling up the location trace protocol we use for psychiatric emergencies, running his call number through the system while keeping him talking. The number came back unregistered, a burner or VoIP. Thomas, I want to help both of you. Can you tell me where you are? He laughed softly. You're very calm. I like that about you, Nora. I stopped typing. He'd used my name. I hadn't given it. The room suddenly felt smaller. I glanced toward the glass partition, separating the operator bay from the empty corridor beyond. The hallway lights were on their overnight dim setting, casting long amber shadows across the linoleum floor. Thomas, how do you know my name? Your badge faces outward when you lean forward, he said pleasantly. Every time. I stood up slowly, phone still pressed to my ear, and turned to face the corridor window. It was empty. Of course it was empty. I told myself that firmly, while my heart attempted to escape through my sternum. Thomas, I need you to tell me where you are right now. He exhaled. The sound was soft, almost tender. Then came something else from behind his voice. A muffled sound. Rhythmic and desperate. Someone breathing through fabric. Someone whose mouth wasn't entirely free. She's getting agitated again, he said, with the patience of a disappointed parent. I don't like agitation. Thomas, don't... A sharp sound, then quiet. There, he said. Better. My hands were shaking. I hit the emergency dispatch flag on my console, silently broadcasting a priority trace, request to the network supervisor 3 floors up. At the same time, I forced my voice back into steadiness. Is she breathing, Thomas? For now. He sounded almost bored. I want to ask you something, Nora, and I want an honest answer. Go ahead. Do you think people deserve what happens to them when they're in the wrong place? The rain outside intensified. Somewhere down the corridor, a door clicked shut. I told myself it was the HVAC system. I told myself many things in those 15 seconds. I think people deserve help, I said carefully. That's why I'm here. Thomas was quiet for a long moment. Then he read me an address, slowly, clearly, like a man dictating a letter. An industrial district, 12 kilometers from the hospital, near the old shipping yards that had been half derelict since the port rerouted 6 years ago. Come alone, he added. I'm not going to do that, Thomas. I know. He sounded genuinely unbothered. I just wanted to see if you'd lie. The line went dead. I sat in the silence for exactly 3 seconds. Then I was on the radio to dispatch. Reading the address, my voice clipped and precise. 2 units were already mobile. The trace had partially resolved. The signal had bounced. But the cell tower ping placed him within a 2-kilometer radius of the address he'd given. I called it in. I did everything right. But while I waited for confirmation, I made one mistake. I walked to the corridor window and looked out. The hallway was empty, except for the faintest smear on the glass, at eye level. From the outside, that hadn't been there an hour ago. A partial handprint, the fingers pressed flat, the way you'd press your hand against cold glass to see through it, from outside a fourth-floor window. 7 days passed before he called again. I'd told myself I was fine. I filed the report. I answered questions from a detective named Brasso, who had tired eyes and a voice like dry concrete. He told me police had found the warehouse. Cleared out, no victim, no Thomas. Only zip ties on a rusted pipe and a green coat folded neatly on the floor. No body, no blood. Unknown status on the woman with dark hair. Brasso said they were pursuing leads. He said it with the practiced neutrality of a man who has learned not to promise things. I nodded and went home and didn't sleep and came back the following night because the bills don't stop and neither does the work. By the 7th day, I'd almost convinced myself it was over. Then the console flashed at 12:08 a.m. and I knew. I knew before I answered. The way you sometimes know in dreams, and that creeping, marrow-deep recognition that something is wrong about the shape of the room, that the door is in the wrong place, that you've been here before and it ended badly. Harborview Medical, you sound tired, Thomas said. I didn't speak. I was already triggering the trace protocol, my left hand moving independently of my mind while my mind went completely white. I've been thinking about our conversation, he continued. I thought you handled it very well. Most people panic. Where is she? My voice came out steadier than I deserved. You know, he said thoughtfully. I watched you for a while before I called that night. You have a habit of turning off your desk lamp when you're stressed. You turned it off 4 times, he paused. You just turned it off again. I looked at my hand on the lamp switch. I hadn't noticed doing it. The trace was running. The supervisor upstairs had been alerted the moment. The call connected. We'd set a flag on the line after last week. But traces take time, and Thomas clearly understood that. You're very careful, I said. You planned this. I plan most things. He didn't sound proud of it, just factual. But you surprised me. You stayed calm when I told you about the girl. Most operators hang up, or they start crying, which is unhelpful. Keep him talking. That's the protocol. Keep them talking. Give dispatch time. Don't escalate. Thomas, if she's still alive, the woman from last week is fine. He said it casually, the way you'd confirm a restaurant reservation. I let her go. She's in Clearwater now. She won't talk to police. You can check. A brief pause. She knows I'll know if she does. I don't believe you. That's okay. His voice shifted slightly, something underneath it harder. I'm not calling about her. The air in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Then why are you calling? I told you, you interest me. He said it without warmth, which was somehow worse than if he'd said it with desire. This wasn't obsession, it was assessment. I've been watching how you move through that building. Your route when you go for coffee, the side exit you use when you leave at 3 a.m. because the parking garage elevator is slower. My mouth went completely dry. The mole at the base of your left wrist, he continued. You rub it when you're anxious. You've been rubbing it since you answered. I looked down at my hand. I pressed it flat against the desk. What do you want? I asked. To see if you're as smart as I think you are. He let the silence breathe for a moment. There's an envelope in your locker. Bay 4 in the staff room. I put it there this morning during the shift change. 30 people moved through this building during shift change. 30 people who could have been Thomas or could have let Thomas in. The hospital had a badge system. Access logs, but the shift change is chaotic, bodies flowing in and out. And security was a retired cop named Gerald, who was usually watching football scores on his phone. I'm not going to my locker, Thomas. I know, but you want to know what's in it. Another pause. It's photographs of you, taken over the past 9 days. I thought you deserved to see them. The trace pinged. Partial match, somewhere inside. A 3-block radius of the hospital's north face. Not a warehouse this time. Not 12 kilometers away. Somewhere close. Your team just got a location hit, Thomas said pleasantly. I can tell from your posture. I spun toward the corridor window. Amber light, empty hallway, the slow institutional hum of a sleeping building. Then the door at the far end of the hallway. The fire door that required a badge swung open. A figure stood in the frame. Tall, still, too far for me to make out. A face in the dim light, but close enough to see that he was looking directly at me through the glass. Looking directly at me, phone pressed to his ear. "Hello, Nora," said Thomas, through the phone and across the corridor simultaneously. I dropped the handset and ran, not toward him, backward, through the rear door of the operator bay, into the stairwell, my footsteps cracking off the concrete walls as I took the stairs 2 at a time downward, lungs burning, one hand dragging along the rail because my legs weren't entirely reliable anymore. I burst through the ground floor exit into the wet parking lot, rain immediate and cold against my face. 2 police vehicles were rolling in through the main gate. They'd had units standing by since the call connected. I ran toward them, waving, and a door opened and an officer was out and moving toward me, and I was saying 4th floor, north corridor. "Fire door, he's inside, he's inside." They swept the building in 11 minutes. They found the fire door propped open with a folded piece of cardboard. They found the stairwell empty. They found Bay 4 in the staff room and locker 4, and inside it, an envelope as promised. 41 photographs, 9 days. Every one of them taken through glass, windows, the side door, the coffee machine alcove. In 38 of them, I had no idea I was being watched. In 3 of them, I was looking directly at the camera, directly at Thomas. And in those 3 photographs, I was smiling, not at him, not knowingly, but smiling at something ordinary. A text from a friend, a joke Dana had made, some small warmth in a cold night. Brasso showed me the photographs 2 days later, in a room with fluorescent lights and a paper cup of bad coffee. He was quiet for a long time after I'd looked through them. "We'll catch him," he said. I nodded. But here's what I didn't tell Brasso, what I haven't told anyone until now. In the clearest of the 3 photographs, the one where the angle is sharpest, you can see the reflection of the camera in the window glass. And behind the camera, barely visible, almost nothing, just a shape in the dark. A second person standing further back, watching Thomas, watching me. I still work the night shift. The money is good, and I tell myself I'm not afraid, but I've moved my desk so my back is against the wall, and I've stopped smiling when I'm alone in the building, because I don't know anymore who's watching when I do. Some people leave marks on you that don't show up on skin. Thomas left his in the space between every ordinary moment, in the pause before I answer the phone, in the half-second before I look at my reflection in dark glass, in the quiet that follows a night that ends too easily. The photographs are in a police evidence locker, but I still remember everyone.